here's a story in New York Post. Nina Jankowicz, this is that disinfo ministry they want to do, and they are thrilled at the prospect of this. But she says that verified Twitter users should edit others' tweets, okay? So she is, she told participants in a recent Zoom chat that she is verified by Twitter, before adding that there are a lot of people who shouldn't be verified who aren't legit because they're not trustworthy, which just simply means they disagree with her fringe extremist political views. And her political views, since they're in line with Biden, would just be vanilla, outdated, stinky corporate fascism and vicious, racist war on drug policies, vicious, disgusting, perpetual wars, grinding up innocent people in Ukraine and Syria and Libya. That's what she says is truth. And anything that deviates from that, this figure, very mediocre in talent, but she's angry and she's got something to prove. She says verified people can essentially start to edit Twitter in the same sort of way that Wikipedia is, so they can add context to certain tweets, okay? She then offered up a hypothetical. If President Donald Trump were still on Twitter and tweeted a claim about voter fraud, someone could add context from one of the 60 lawsuits that went through the court or something that an election official, and they didn't go through the court. She's a freaking liar, right? These people just spew lies left and right. Whether you hate Trump or not, anybody with a brain and a conscience and a heart and tells the truth knows that's a lie. They didn't go through the court. They were dismissed because of standing. They said there's no standing, we're not going to hear it. So they never presented the arguments. They didn't. The courts just passed the buck. We don't want to deal with it. We don't want to deal with it. We don't want to deal with it. Okay? So they didn't go through the courts. That's a freaking lie. It's like an easy lie to spot. It's not even a clever lie. Anybody knows objectively that's a lie. They didn't go through the courts. But she's a liar, and she's a paid lying hack, and she wants to. They're so weak in their control over narratives that they're doubling down with even more efforts. It wasn't enough that they control Google and Facebook and Twitter and NPR and the colleges and the textbooks and the teachers unions and the post office, and on all these other Amazon Prime and Netflix cultural views. It's not enough that they run ABC and CNBC and AP. All that power, and their arguments are so bad, they're so dumb, they're so despicable, they're so oppressive that they are so desperate to get a support that now they're going to roll out a desperate disinfo ministry, okay? These people are not winning. They're not winning. By people, I'm not talking about the Democrat. Who cares about the party? It's this uniparty that she represents. Jankowicz doesn't care about. What would Jankowicz's disinformation ministry critique about? About like a Liz Cheney. We're not going to critique any of her tweets. You see, Liz Cheney's tweets are approved by Raytheon and all these giant corporations, these oil companies, these banksters. These fraud pharmaceutical scam artists, repeated criminal convict companies. So they're not going to touch those tweets. Okay? So when a Liz Cheney or a Obama wants to say, hey, folks, Libya's getting a little bit too frisky with independence from our little mafia game. Let's go ahead and destroy the whole place, open up a slave trade for millions of Africans, ruin their country, turn them into utter chaos. Because their guy has done some wicked stuff that justifies us to unleash ever-loving Al-Qaeda hell and everything onto the country. So Jankowicz would say that is true, and we're going to do it. Now, what would Jankowicz have done, of course, when they lied and said that the ambassador died because of that stupid argument, remember? And Benghazi, he died because they were mad about somebody's video. Jankowicz would get in there. Anybody who said, no, I don't buy it, she would get in there and edit and say, that is not true. We fact checked it. It is true. They just liar. They're just hyper. They're just completely hypocritical, pathological liars. Okay? And they're not lying for anything good. There's no bleeding heart. I am so over this argument that, well, liberals mean well, they just care so much, but they're frivolous in their execution of their policies. That's just not true with these folks. There's nothing liberal about butchering the people of Libya. Nothing. Nothing liberal about that. There's nothing liberal about supporting Al-Qaeda and Al-Nusra in Syria and destroying churches and murdering innocent people. There's nothing bleeding heart about that. There's not, oh, they're too emotional, too caring. That's not there. That's not the issue there, okay? This is corporate fascism. Jankowicz is for corporate fascism. She probably doesn't know what that, the roots of corporatism. I'm not saying that even to be mean. I'm just saying it's probably not her purview of where she was trained as a bureaucrat or whatever. But that's what she's for. She may not know the term for what she's for, but that's the fruits of what she's for. Corporate fascism. If Pfizer says it and patented it, I believe it. That settles it. That's the disinformation ministry's attempt to do. And I think it's going to backfire, okay? Because you can't go back and do 20th century style strong-arm tactics to solve 21st century decentralized information. You see? Like you're using an outdated form of informational warfare. Maybe it worked to some degree in Soviet Union, Pravda, right? But even then, as people have pointed out, people knew how to read Pravda to see the truth. The party has said this has happened. They knew, okay, the opposite, right? And the same thing's going to happen with this, but it's going to be even worse. Because the Soviet Union didn't have like a million podcasts, talking about what's really going on with Stalin's garbage. They didn't have, everybody with a HD resolution live streaming capable camera that could film corruption and brutality and, scams going on with different Soviet policies. Okay? They didn't have a First Amendment precedent to protect dissident speech. They didn't have that culture there. And so they didn't have the ability for us to talk back and to learn and coordinate information in a way to go around. I mean, they did it, but they didn't have the tools to accelerate in the dissemination, right? And yet they still were able to see past the lies. How much more so will this pathetic Pravda wannabe, this disinformation ministry, backfire? Because the stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone.